Discover the incredible moment when a homeless orphan transforms a millionaire's life in 3 amazing ways. Jordan stared out at the grey winter sky from beneath his jacket hood, the concrete of downtown Chicago a cold embrace as the late afternoon shadows loomed long. His worn-out sneakers slid against the cracked sidewalk. He felt invisible in a city so vibrant yet merciless. A backpack laden with philosophical books hung tightly to his back, each page a portal to dreams a world away. Heart racing, he questioned, how could he escape this cycle, this void? The dream of ownership flourished in the depths of his mind, a business scheme that could help other kids like him, but the harsh reality of survival often drowned out the whispers of hope. One evening, he sought refuge in the public library, a sanctuary filled with the scent of aged paper. As the world outside continued to spin, he lost himself among the titles, flipping through pages devoted to entrepreneurship. Then, out of nowhere, he collided with another patron, Malcolm. The man's face was a mask of grief, his eyes haunted, telling stories of a different kind of despair. A glimmer of recognition sparked between them, a fleeting moment shared in the tangled chaos of life. Yet in that instant, Jordan faced an undeniable moral dilemma. Here was a man who wore success like a shield, yet it cracked under the weight of his sorrow. Should he approach Malcolm, this millionaire whose life was now stained by scandal? Deep down, Jordan thought of the vibrant future he yearned to embody, wondering if perhaps, just perhaps, this moment was a turning point. But what should he say? What could he say that wouldn't expose the raw vulnerability hidden beneath his street-smart facade? Malcolm was lost, adrift in a mansion with nothing but memories echoing back at him. The external world felt distant, and here he stood, at the precipice of something yet so unsure. Jordan's mere presence began to chip away at the loneliness, igniting something buried within Malcolm, yet doubt gnawed at his conscience. How could he trust this boy, living on scraps of hope? A sense of urgency brewed inside of Jordan as they grew closer, each shared moment revealing more philosophical wisdom. Deep conversation spiraled into innovative ideas for a project that could help others. But vulnerability lingered. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as their partnership began to bloom, Malcolm stumbled upon a truth that unraveled everything. Whispers of betrayal from his past trailed him like an unwanted shadow. It threatened to envelop the small flicker of light they had ignited together. Anxiety coiled tightly in Jordan's gut as he saw Malcolm's demeanor shift, the weight of secrets crashing down. Could he trust this man who once inspired him? Was the struggle in their lives truly a connection? Fear clouded his judgment. The very thought of revealing his own truths felt like jumping into the abyss of vulnerability. As he grappled with the very essence of trust, Jordan's breath quickened. He could feel the pull of betrayal, the sting of doubt, yet amidst it all, a longing to share his burdens fought to surface. The library that had sheltered him now felt like a trap as he prepared to speak his heart, only for the door to swing open. Footsteps echoed into the silence, and an unexpected presence stepped into their fragile world, one that could change everything forever. The door creaked open, and the air shifted, heavy with new possibilities. Jordan turned to see a woman entering, her expression a mixture of determination and disbelief. She was in her mid-30s, dressed in a tailored blazer, holding a smartphone in one hand and a folder in the other. Jordan felt a rush of trepidation mixed with curiosity. Who was she, and what did her arrival mean for him and Malcolm? "Malcolm, you need to come with me," the woman said urgently, her voice cutting through the moment like a knife. There is no time to waste. Malcolm's eyes flickered between confusion and panic as he glanced at Jordan, momentarily caught in the undertow of his own turmoil. Jordan's heart raced. He sensed the impending shift, the potential for everything to fall apart in the blink of an eye. Questions swirled in his mind. Who was she? Was she part of Malcolm's past? Was this the end of their budding partnership? Malcolm hesitated, his posture tightening as he weighed the gravity of the situation. Jordan noticed the way his hands trembled just slightly, a minor detail that registered deep within him. This was a man on the brink of collapse, and for a fleeting moment, Jordan felt the urge to reach out and tell him to stand firm. However, the silence hung heavy as tension mounted, and he found himself holding back. "Just give me a moment," he finally said, his voice shaky as he appeared to be talking more to himself than to her. Jordan realized then, observing Malcolm in that vulnerable state, that they were both teetering on the edge of a life-altering decision. Would Malcolm choose to follow this woman, thereby possibly abandoning their collective vision? What would that mean for Jordan's own life? "I can't just leave things like this," Malcolm exclaimed, his voice wavering with unresolved emotions. "There's a chance here, for both of us." His gaze shifted towards Jordan, seeking affirmation, as if asking whether he dared to pursue this uncertain journey together. Jordan felt an unexpected spark of resolve flicker in his chest, igniting a determination he had never fully embraced before. "You don't have to do it alone, Malcolm," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. "We can figure this out together." The woman stepped closer, her impatience evident. "I don't have time to waste on a boy living on the streets, Malcolm. This is about your future. This is about saving everything you've built." In that moment, Jordan felt every word sting like the chill in the air. He was the boy they both underestimated, but beneath layers of hardship, he harbored a burgeoning ambition that yearned to break free. "Life isn't just about what you've built, it's about what you can create from what you have," he retorted, surprising himself with the conviction in his voice. Malcolm blinked, caught off guard. The flicker of understanding in his eyes indicated something was shifting both towards him and away from the woman. The tension between them was palpable, conviction met desperation, and questions of loyalty and trust swirled like a storm. As Jordan stood there, he realized he had to prove something not just to Malcolm, but also to himself. In that charged moment, he felt the fullness of his potential pressing against his ribs like a raw flame. The battle was no longer just Malcolm's, it was both of theirs now. Choice hovered in the air like a unique essence, swirling into possibilities they had yet to grasp. "Join me on this journey," Jordan urged, his voice resonating with the strength of authenticity. "Let us face whatever it is together." Malcolm took a long, archetypal breath, his thoughts visibly wrestling with the turmoil of attachment. "And if I falter?" he asked, uncertainty etched into his features. Jordan held his gaze unwaveringly. "Then we'll figure it out. But let us not give up on this before it even begins." The woman's impatience crackled in the air, but Jordan could sense something turning within Malcolm, a flicker of recognition, a glimpse of what could be. The decision hung in the balance, their journey within reach yet still undefined. Would Malcolm embrace this new path alongside him, or would the woman's call to reclaim lost power draw him away? A slight smile curved at the corners of Malcolm's mouth, as if contemplating the unknown. It became clear to Jordan, this moment would carve their destinies from the raw material of dreams and fears. But before Malcolm could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed through the library aisles again, this time, more menacing. The future began to spiral into chaos, and as dread seeped into Jordan's core, he knew the time for decisions was upon them. Would their partnership survive the unrelenting grip of outside pressures? Only time would tell. Shadows danced on the walls, the next chapter creeping closer. Jordan's heart raced as the echo of those footsteps reverberated through the quiet library, an ominous reminder that their moment of clarity could shatter at any instant. He could feel the weight of potential change in the room, as if destiny itself had stepped forward, ready to engage in a struggle for their souls. Malcolm's expression flickered. Was it determination? Fear? Jordan couldn't tell, but each passing second felt like a countdown to an inevitable decision. "Malcolm," Jordan said, leaning closer, his voice a low urgency. "You need to pick now. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about what we could build together." Malcolm's gaze wavered, darting between Jordan and the woman, searching for something: approval, a lifeline, a pathway out. It was in that moment that Jordan realized, despite their different backgrounds, they were both struggling against the tide of expectations. The woman represented the allure of traditional success, a path paved with promises and security, while he and Malcolm stood at the precipice of an uncharted journey, raw and uncertain. The footsteps drew nearer, a sinister reminder that time was not on their side. "You'll regret this," the woman interjected fiercely. "Do you really want to risk everything?" Jordan sensed a flicker of doubt in Malcolm, but he refused to let it break the tension. "Regret lies in avoiding those choices that frighten us," he countered. "What will hurt more? The fear of failure or the regret of never trying?" There was a moment where everything hung in the balance, the air thick with unspoken revelations. A deep determination coursed through Jordan, igniting an internal desire to step fully into his potential, not just for himself, but for both of them. He imagined standing at the finish line, victory within reach, and it filled him with a sense of purpose that transcended his present circumstances. For once in his life, he felt like he was more than just a boy from the streets. He was someone capable of redefining his future. He could ignite a fire within Malcolm, compel him to embrace their audacious path together. Trust me, he urged, locking eyes with Malcolm, wrestling with every ounce of doubt. Let us rewrite our stories, together. And yet, the woman took a step forward, her brows knitted in lethal determination. This is who you are, Malcolm, she barked, her voice rising in pitch. You've worked too hard to throw it away on a fantasy. Come with me, and I'll give you everything you ever wanted. Choose the life you deserve. The impending threat of her words began to creep into Jordan's mind like fog. He couldn't let that fear dominate his resolve. Suddenly, he was struck by an idea that was equal parts daring and absurd. What if we began, his thoughts racing at how they could turn this moment into an opportunity. In that instant, he realized this was no longer just a test of loyalty, it was also a challenge of creativity, adaptability, and strategy. What if we confront your past together? If you refuse her now, she loses power, and we gain freedom to chart our own course, he suggested, his heart thumping loudly in his chest. Malcolm's expression shifted to reflection, a contemplation of fracture and possibility. The woman's face hardened, sensing the shift in Malcolm's resolve, but in that moment, Jordan recognized something remarkable. He had uncovered an unspoken strength within both of them, a sense of adventure meant to rival even the torments they faced. But before Malcolm could respond, the footsteps rounded the corner, and a figure emerged from the shadows, someone Jordan had hoped he'd never see again. The familiar face bore the scars of hard-fought battles, and the realization hit Jordan like a jolt of electricity. This had just transformed from an internal crisis to an external confrontation. The air crackled with intensity as the new arrival locked eyes with Jordan, smirking as if aware of the stakes. Would Jordan again lose control and fade into obscurity, or had he finally found the strength to fight not just for himself, but also for Malcolm? The answers loomed just out of reach, lingering like a storm preparing to unleash its fury. Would this moment carve out their path forward, or redefine their journey altogether? Jordan's breath hitched as he recognized the newcomer, a man who had once embodied the very struggles he had fought to escape. The smirk etched on that familiar face was a taunt, a reminder of past failures and choices. This was Marcus, a former mentor-turned-antagonist, who had once offered tantalizing glimpses of success before showing Jordan the dark side of ambition. A whirlwind of emotions coursed through Jordan as he faced him. Fear and anger intertwined, but beneath it all was a surging sense of clarity. This was the moment he had envisioned, the confrontation that could ignite a spark in both him and Malcolm. Everything depended on how he navigated this interaction. Jordan, Marcus drawled, his voice dripping with condescension. You're still dragging along your baggage, I see. And you, Malcolm, he turned to Malcolm with a genteel smile that felt like a trap. Is this really the company you want to keep? Jordan clenched his fists, unwilling to show weakness. I'm not the boy you once knew. I'm not looking for approval or validation anymore. The weight of those words seemed to crystallize a long-ignored resolve within him. Oh, but you're still in the same place, Marcus countered. Wasting your potential on foolish dreams while others sacrifice everything for solid ground. Jordan felt Malcolm's gaze flicker back and forth between him and Marcus, uncertainty palpable in the air. It was as if both men were magnets pulling on him, one promising security and familiarity, the other offering the raw thrill of the unknown. You think I'm wasting my potential? Jordan asked, testing Marcus as taunts. I think I've finally found a direction that matters. It's not just about making money or achieving status. Jordan paused, allowing his words to hang heavy between them. It's about self-discovery, about confronting our past to build something meaningful. Meaningful? Marcus laughed, a cold sound devoid of warmth. You think you can redefine your life with some half-formed dreams? You know what matters in this world? Power. Influence. Those are the things that will keep you afloat, not chasing after cliché notions of purpose. In that moment, Jordan felt Malcolm's presence shift, a kind of gravitational pull toward a realization. The fierce conflict playing out was not just between Jordan and Marcus, it was echoing within Malcolm, who stood at the crossroads of his own identity. They were not just fighting for their current decisions but for their lives' trajectories. Look at us, Marcus, Jordan challenged, his voice steady. You represent a past I don't want. You are right about one thing: we could lose everything, but at least we'd be free. What I'm building with Malcolm is worth more than all your influence combined. Jordan noticed a flicker of understanding in Malcolm's eyes. Perhaps he was finally seeing through the illusion Marcus crafted with his words. Those phrases of power and control that had once captivated Jordan now began to unravel in the face of genuine ambition. Jordan, Malcolm's voice broke into the tension, glancing at the woman who seemed to melt into the background. I choose to trust him, Malcolm, Jordan urged, sensing the swell of importance in this moment. We can do this together, break free of their expectations. But Marcus's smirk sharpened, betraying a deeper knowledge of the fragility of their resolve. Just remember, he warned, his eyes steely, those who play with fire often get burned. Are you sure you're ready? As silence enveloped the library once again, Jordan felt the tether between them both stretched to its limits. Facing the embodiment of fear and obstacle, he stood at a precipice. Beyond this moment lay a new horizon, but would Malcolm choose to leap alongside him or cling to the familiar? The weight of their choices hung palpably in the air, a tension that promised change or despair. As Malcolm hesitated, Jordan could almost hear the ticking clock of opportunity echoing louder than ever before. Would they embrace the uncertainty of their newfound purpose, or succumb to the comfortable binds of their pasts? There, amidst the rising stakes, Jordan knew the next decision would determine the very essence of who they would become. Would Malcolm stand with him against the looming shadows, or allow them to dictate his destiny once again? Jordan's heart raced as he observed Malcolm's hesitation, his mind racing with the implications of this encounter. The library, once a sanctuary of learning and growth, now felt like a battleground where aspirations clashed violently against the weight of past failures. Marcus lingered at the edge of the emotional fray, an unsettling specter of doubt, challenging every smartly crafted expectation Jordan had laid out. Malcolm, Jordan asserted, his voice firm yet compelling, this is our chance to break free from the mold. We could redefine what success means for us. But as the last words slipped from his lips, Jordan noticed a glimmer of uncertainty in Malcolm's eyes, a flicker that spoke of deep-seated fears, layers of identity woven with what Marcus represented. The stakes were more than professional, they were fundamentally personal. In that moment, Jordan's resolve crystallized, fueled by the understanding that this was not merely about aligning visions, it was a confrontation with fears embodied by Marcus. The past had held him captive, but here he was, armed with the transformative power of self-awareness and ambition. Think about what you genuinely want, Jordan pressed, his voice softer, a touch of urgency underlying each syllable. This is not just a decision about today, it's about the future we can create. Malcolm's gaze drifted to the floor, a visible struggle painting his features. Jordan noted the tension in his friend's shoulders, the way he absorbed Marcus's presence like a sponge. A sense of desperation washed over Jordan. He had to reach Malcolm, to guide him through this moment of turmoil. Look beyond the surface, he continued, grounding his words in truth rather than mere persuasion. Marcus may offer you stability, but think about what that stability costs. Would you really be willing to trade freedom for predictability? We can redefine success on our own terms, we can build a life rich in meaning together, not confined by old expectations. As Malcolm's gaze slowly lifted, Jordan caught a glimpse of something, a flicker of realization. It wasn't just the possibility of rejecting Marcus's vision, it was about embracing their own, a call to stand firm against mediocrity. Jordan, Malcolm finally spoke, his voice wavering but his resolve slowly hardening. I want to believe, then let us take the leap, Jordan interjected, feeling his adrenaline surge. No more second guessing. We see what Marcus represents, and we can choose differently. Not just for ourselves, but for anyone else caught in the same trap. Across the room, Marcus shifted, irritation crawling over his features as he sensed their growing bond. It seems I've underestimated you both, he said, every word coated with disdain. But remember, the world does not reward the timid or the unprepared. Jordan locked eyes with Marcus, unfazed. What the world thinks it rewards doesn't matter. This is our journey, and we will decide its direction. Malcolm's expression changed, evolving from uncertainty to resolve. You are right, he nodded slowly, confidence building. I don't want to be another pawn in someone else's game. The air crackled between them as an unspoken understanding solidified. They were stronger together, fueled by a shared vision and an unrelenting urge to break free. Then let's step into the unknown, Jordan urged, feeling the grip of his fear loosening for the first time. The prospect of a different future beckoned, uncharted and daunting, yet exhilarating in its potential. As they steeled themselves to confront the throes of change, Marcus scoffed, visibly perturbed by their newfound alliance. You two are playing with fire, and the blaze will consume you. Be ready for the consequences. Jordan turned to Malcolm, a shared glance igniting an unyielding resolve. Standing together in that tense withdrawal from Marcus's influence, they felt the weight of the evolving identity, one that spoke to a brighter tomorrow forged on their own terms. But just as hope surged within him, Jordan realized the danger had merely shifted. Their confrontation with Marcus was only the beginning. The true test lay ahead, and the path would demand sacrifices neither had anticipated. As they stepped away, the reality loomed, the stakes were high, and every choice mattered. Jordan's mind raced with the next challenge, the question brewing like a storm: what uncharted territory awaited them, and could they withstand the flames? The library doors swung closed behind them, leaving the air thick with unspoken fears and uncharted possibilities. Jordan's pulse still throbbed, nerves alive with the tension of their confrontation. In the cool, quiet expanse of the library's corridors, he could taste the urgency of their commitment. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. Jordan, Malcolm's voice brought him back to reality. What now? We've made our choice, but I don't even know where to start. The uncertainty in his friend's tone unclasped Jordan's interior resolve, exposing the raw truth of their fledgling ambition. First, we need a plan, Jordan replied, trying to infuse his voice with confidence. We have to figure out how to set our vision into motion. We can't allow Marcus's perspective to dominate our next steps. He could feel Malcolm leaning in, hungry for a structure, a direction. A flicker of hope ignited in Jordan as he recognized the potential within Malcolm, a capacity for resilience that had been buried beneath layers of doubt. But what if we fail? Malcolm asked, hesitation still stealing his resolve. What if we can't prove ourselves? Jordan sensed the weight of the past in his question, self-doubt emanating from years of capitulating to external expectations. Failure is only one potential outcome, Jordan stated, firming his stance. But think about what success would feel like. It's about defining our own success, growing through the mistakes we'll inevitably make. Each misstep can teach us something valuable. Malcolm nodded, though Jordan saw the faint flicker of uncertainty still lingering behind his eyes. He wished he could transfer his conviction directly into his friend's heart, but self-discovery was a rugged road one couldn't travel through sheer will. They needed to dismantle the barriers holding them back, starting with their own minds. Suddenly struck by impulse, Jordan added, let us do something radical. Why don't we start by reaching out to others, those who have faced similar obstacles? The idea resonated with him, a collective empowerment germinating from shared experiences. Who would we even talk to? Malcolm asked, a mix of curiosity and skepticism swirling in his gaze. Local entrepreneurs, small business owners, artists, we can learn from their journeys. We need to hear their stories and let them inspire us, Jordan said, feeling an invigorating surge of determination at the prospect. He envisioned gatherings, dialogues infused with raw stories of struggle, resilience, and triumph, a community of shared evolution surrounding them as they staked their claim in this new chapter of their lives. The fire of his vision ignited something in Malcolm. You know, that actually sounds pretty amazing, he admitted, a tentative smile breaking through. It feels different, drawing from a wider experience rather than just pushing against Marcus's vision. Encouraged by Malcolm's shift, Jordan seized the momentum. Exactly. We're not just building a business, we're creating a network of like-minded individuals who want to challenge the status quo. As they walked through the library, Jordan could almost feel the walls themselves echoing their newfound perspective. There was uncertainty, yes, but within it cocooned a burgeoning strength, one that had the potential to reshape not just their ambitions but also their identities. With a tentative yet steady sense of direction developing, Jordan gathered his thoughts, framing each step into actionable tasks. They could hold community workshops, collect stories, and, perhaps most importantly, begin writing their own narrative of resilience. But just as plans began to form, a shadow loomed over their excitement. A cold reminder echoed in the back of Jordan's mind: Marcus had threatened consequences. Would he strike back in some unforeseen way? The prospect of Marcus holding sway over their new ventures darkened the horizon of their hopes. Jordan, you're thinking too far ahead, Malcolm interrupted his thoughts, reading the worry etched across his face. Let us focus on what we can control right now and let tomorrow take care of itself. Jordan inhaled deeply, steeling himself against the tension coiling within him. He had to let go of the impending fears. He had to choose optimism against the storm of doubt that threatened to surround them. As they stepped back into the world outside the library, the immediate challenges loomed ahead of them like a mountain range, daunting, yes, yet brimming with possibility. They would shape their path, but Marcus's shadow still hung, and with it came the harsh reality of scrutiny and potential conflict. The essential question loomed larger now: would they be strong enough to withstand both the trials of their ambitions and the weight of external judgment that would inevitably come? As the first steps in their journey unfolded, Jordan could feel the tension for the future brewing, a stark reminder that the battle was far from over. The quiet hum of the city enveloped Jordan and Malcolm as they emerged from the library. Each sound resonated with a new kind of urgency, whispers of uncharted paths and unspoken challenges. Jordan felt the weight of their shared decision settle on his shoulders. With every passing moment, the reality of their aspirations pulsed in his veins, driving a desire for action. "Where do we begin?" Malcolm asked, his breath catching a little in the chill of the evening air. The question was more than logistical, it bore the urgency of their dreams and the fear of faltering. "We'll start small," Jordan replied, feeling a steady rhythm of determination pulse within him. "We can organize casual meetups for informal discussions. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant, just a few hours with people who made their own paths." He envisioned the coffee shop nearby, its inviting atmosphere fostering a sense of belonging. "Okay, but don't forget who we're up against," Malcolm warned, his brow furrowing. "Marcus will be watching. I mean, we've seen how he operates." Jordan bit his lip, pushing aside the unease that had flickered at the edges of his thoughts. "True, but no matter how often he underestimates us, his arrogance leaves room for us to be unpredictable." Malcolm considered this, nodding slowly. Yet hints of doubt lingered in his expression. Jordan felt the urge to provide more assurance, to spark that flame of courage fully. "Look, let us not approach this from a fearful perspective. Let us focus on what we can control. We'll create a space for growth and learning. That is powerful." A soft smile crept onto Malcolm's face. "A space where people can share failures and victories. I like that. It's inspiring." The transformation in Malcolm's demeanor sparked something deep inside Jordan, a surge of confidence but also a glimmer of responsibility. If Malcolm was willing to lift his gaze, Jordan had to reciprocate and lead the way forward. As they strolled toward the coffee shop, Jordan's mind whirred with ideas, constructing a vision aimed at something beyond mere survival. It was about crafting legacy. Dreams unfurling like projections danced across his thoughts, the mingling of inquisitive minds eager to pivot or rise again after each fall, all weaving into the narrative of their journey. Upon arriving at the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee settled warmly around them, and it wasn't long before they occupied a corner table, working out logistics. They began listing local entrepreneurs to contact, names and details scrawled over crumpled napkins, the ambient chatter providing a soundtrack to their ambition. Just as a renewed energy coursed through their conversation, Jordan paused. "Malcolm, what about our story?" he asked, the question forming organically. "We can't just be mechanics of change, we need to set the tone with our own experiences." "Right," Malcolm replied, his brow furrowing. "But what if our journey is less than compelling? What if there is nothing remarkable to share?" Jordan felt the sting of doubt in Malcolm's words, reflecting his own earlier insecurities. "Listen, no journey is too small or insignificant," he asserted, channeling conviction. "Recognizing our struggles is where our strength resides." In that moment, Jordan wasn't merely advocating for their cause, he was also shedding pieces of his own skin. He needed to embrace the discomfort of vulnerability as part of the process, one that would breathe life into their venture. He fixed his gaze on his friend, sensing a shift in Malcolm's energy. If they each aimed to redefine their identities, they had to embrace every part of their narratives, even the flawed textures. As they settled into phrases of potential, the cafe door swung open, a rush of air carrying in the chill of an uncertain evening. Both men turned their attention to the newcomers, and Jordan's heart threatened to skip a beat. A figure in a worn jacket glanced their way, eyes scanning the bustling room until they landed unexpectedly on him. It was Marcus. His mere presence put a sudden halt to Jordan's thoughts, all the air turning stale. The battle didn't cease, it merely awakened anew. The keen awareness that the confrontation with Marcus was imminent sent shivers down his spine, shifting the atmosphere around them. They had undertaken ground-shaking aspirations, yet shadows still eclipsed their dreams. "What are we going to do?" Malcolm whispered, the urgency returning. "The moment has come to face him," Jordan whispered back, determination surging again. Today, they would no longer be relegated to the sidelines of their own lives. Jordan's pulse quickened as Marcus approached, an almost predatory glare zeroing in on their table. The warm cafe turned into a battlefield, and the chatter around them faded into an ominous silence. They were no longer merely dreamers cocooned in ideas, they were now positioned squarely in the crosshairs of an opponent who thrived on intimidation. "Stay calm," Jordan murmured, though he could feel the adrenaline surging through his veins. He shoved his hands beneath the table, gripping the edge tightly as if anchoring himself. Marcus slid into the empty chair across from them without invitation, his demeanor as oppressive as the looming shadows outside. Well. What do we have here? The underdogs plotting their grand ascent." He sneered, feigning amusement. "I do worry about getting ahead of yourselves. You wouldn't understand the first thing about growing something that matters, Marcus, Jordan shot back, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. Every ounce of hesitation waned as he began to confront the narrative he had feared for too long. Gone were the days of passive observation, he was reclaiming his story, one word at a time. Marcus leaned back slightly, feigning nonchalance but undoubtedly caught off guard at Jordan's newfound boldness. Oh. And what do you think it takes to create success? Some petty little gatherings between hopefuls. He risked a glance at Malcolm, who remained silent yet tense, a startled deer caught in headlights. Hope isn't petty, Jordan responded, his voice steadying. It's the foundation for genuine connection and growth. You're not a threat, Marcus. You're just a reminder of what we don't want to become. He felt the weight of his words settling not only in the air between them but deep within himself too, a revelation shifting his inner landscape. The confident assertion gave him clarity, he was no longer required to shrink into a shadow. Marcus's facade cracked just for a moment, revealing the uncertainty behind his bravado. Nice speech, but you're in way over your heads. People will fail, and this little fantasy of yours will crumble faster than you can imagine. There was an uncomfortable beat of silence as Jordan contemplated just how dismissive Marcus was. The doubt, the challenge, both men held the tension like an electric current. In that moment, Jordan acknowledged both the threat and the opportunity. He realized that behind fear lurked a fragile truth, failure might be imminent, yet he had already raised the stakes. Then let it crumble, Jordan stated defiantly, meeting Marcus's hard gaze. The only way to truly grow is through risk. If we fall, we'll find our way back up together. What we're creating is worth it. A flick of something, was it respect or disdain? Cross Marcus's features before he quickly masked it. You have guts, I'll give you that. But remember, the world doesn't play fair. And neither do we, Malcolm added, his voice unexpectedly strong after a hesitant pause. Jordan felt a wave of pride swell within at his friend's sudden emergence as an ally. With that, Jordan felt a new ripple of energy course through his veins. The confrontation with Marcus was not just an obstacle, it was a cathartic release of the burdens they carried. As Marcus exited the cafe, Jordan experienced both relief and a thrumming anticipation. They had stepped out of their shadows, challenged by the opponent, and emerged with their resolve tempered. Their path was now bound in courage, ready for anyone who dared to directly confront their aspirations. What now? Malcolm asked, looking a bit dazed but emboldened. We focus on the stories, Jordan replied firmly. We start the meetups, we reach out. We own our narrative. As they discussed the details, Jordan's mind started formulating a plan, stitching together the lessons learned from their confrontation with Marcus. But a lingering thought nudged at his consciousness, a question still to be unwrapped: what if Marcus was merely a rival but the catalyst for their ultimate growth? With a deeper resolve igniting within him, Jordan prepared to step fully into the unknown. And though the winding road ahead promised struggles, it also breathed possibility. But beneath the surface of ambition lay unanswered questions, a murky potential waiting to unveil itself. Would Marcus return to undermine them further? Or would he inadvertently forge the strength needed for Jordan to rise unencumbered by doubt? Jordan's resolve felt like kindling, igniting from the embers of their confrontation. The cafe scene had shifted from one of despair to a wellspring of ambition. The air crackled with new possibilities as he and Malcolm began formulating actionable steps. They sketched out rough ideas on napkins, each scribble symbolizing their collective determination to break free from the past. First meeting at my place, Malcolm suggested, the hint of excitement creeping into his typically reserved demeanor. Ideas poured forth, lively discussions bouncing between them as they embraced the prospect of expanding their network. Each thought intermixed with laughter became a fortifying layer against any skepticism, yet, beneath the positivity lingered an unsettling undercurrent. Jordan's confrontation with Marcus had unveiled something deeper within him, an unrecognized desire for validation, stoking an internal fire he hadn't realized flickered in the shadows. He understood now that they weren't simply planning gatherings to exchange stories, they were crafting a narrative that declared their existence. As they mapped out their ambitions, Jordan couldn't help but reflect on his relationship with failure. For years, he'd let the fear of it dictate his choices, limiting him to a safe existence that bore little fruit. But now, standing on this precipice, he clung to the exhilarating chance that failure could also herald transformation. It forced him to confront a question that bubbled to the surface: was he willing to risk failure in pursuit of genuine success? Jordan, what if no one actually shows up? Malcolm asked, the doubt creeping into his expression even as he strove for optimism. "Then we try again," he replied confidently, though the weight of uncertainty momentarily dulled his edge. Fear was a cunning adversary, conjuring images of empty chairs and an unfulfilled vision, but Jordan knew that confronting those fears was essential for growth. With each plan they solidified, Jordan recognized the opportunistic echoes of Marcus's derision. The thought both stung and motivated him. It festered into a resolve not to merely resist the tide but to swim against it. How could Marcus's challenges become instruments of their growth? As they wrapped up their planning, a flicker of determination solidified in Jordan's gut. They needed a platform, a space where their stories could resonate beyond their small circle. That was the next step. His mind raced ahead, concocting ideas to amplify their voices. What if they launched a podcast? A blog? A digital platform where they could share their stories and connect with kindred spirits searching for similar narratives? Malcolm's eyes widened with intrigue as Jordan elaborated on the idea. For every fear-based doubt, they crafted a solution, flipping negativity on its head, transforming it into inspiration. A sense of power surged through Jordan, stoking the fires of self-discovery and drive within him. He was no longer just a participant in life as unfolding, he was the author of his own narrative. However, the shadows of the past still loomed. With every small victory, a reminder of Marcus's relentless ambition persisted. Jordan knew that standing out would invite scrutiny. They had yet to experience the backlash of becoming more visible. Would success throw Marcus back, itching to tear down their newly erected walls? Leaving the cafe, both men were buoyed by a newfound energy, ready to conquer the challenges ahead. Yet, deep within, Jordan sensed that they were only on the brink of a much larger confrontation. How would they face the naysayers? What would happen when Marcus inevitably returned to intimidate again? The pulse of preparation began to thrum beneath their skin, echoing the weight of looming uncertainty. The moment of realization dawned on him. They were not merely establishing a network, they were declaring their place in the world. And in doing so, Jordan had awakened something profound within himself, pushing relentlessly against the confines that had held him back. Would he be brave enough to embrace this raw potential? The answer hung in the balance, begging for revelation. As they stepped into the bustling street, the sunlight filtering through the grey clouds seemed to promise both clarity and chaos, leading them down a path littered with unanswered questions. What challenges awaited as they journeyed into the depths of their aspirations? Days turned into weeks as Jordan and Malcolm steadfastly pursued their ambition. The meetups transformed from mere concepts into a vibrant reality, a space alive with entrepreneurs weaving their narratives. The atmosphere was electric, marked by laughter and shared wisdom, creating a community where fear was dismantled and aspiration reignited. Each encounter solidified their mission, a mission rooted in authenticity and resilience. Jordan felt a shift deep within himself. He had grown from mere existence into a facilitator of change, guiding others as they confronted their own journeys. This evolution unfolded as he learned to embrace vulnerability, the very lesson that warded off Marcus's shadows. With each story shared, his confidence flourished from a boy once accosted by self-doubt to a leader inspiring collective courage. It was the personal transformation he had tirelessly sought. Malcolm had also grown under the shared weight and radiance of this blossoming community. No longer haunted by Marcus's assertions, he had found a newfound voice, sharing his experiences with clarity and conviction. Here was a man who once shrank beneath the finery of others, now standing shoulder to shoulder with Jordan, proclaiming their truths. Together, they forged pathways for others, proving ideation could manifest into a reality full of purpose. Recognition crept in, taking shape in the form of accolades from local publications showcasing their initiative. People praised their courage, applauding their vulnerability, and echoing their message of hope. Jordan glowed with pride, feeling the warmth of genuine impact, realizing he was finally establishing himself as a role model for others. This newfound acknowledgement sparked an undeniable momentum, fueling them to delve deeper, reach further, and embrace the challenges ahead. One evening, as they sat in their favorite coffee shop, the hustle of the cafe enriching their spirit, Jordan felt a pang of nostalgia for the fraught paths that had led them here. "Look at us," he said, a smile breaking across his face. "We've flipped the narrative." Malcolm nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "We've proven that stories matter. They're powerful. With each passing event, they inspired people not merely to aspire but to conquer." Jordan observed them, young hopefuls stepping into the spotlight, expressing their fears and triumphs. It was a community of empowerment, all rooted in the knowledge that vulnerability was strength. The tables adorned with scribbled notes from dreamers transformed tales of overcome struggle into an uplifting collective narrative, yet, even amid this success, Marcus's threat lingered in the backdrop. A spectre tainted with doubt, his presence was a shadow that reappeared in rumors, a reminder of the worlds they had turned their backs on. As Jordan reflected, he realized it was not about if Marcus would strike again but when. Yet, with newfound resolve coursing through him, he accepted that confronting Marcus would be an inherent part of their journey. And so, the day came. Jordan and Malcolm were prepping for their largest gathering yet, a major event showcasing local entrepreneurs who had once faced their fears much like they had. Anxiety pooled beneath the surface, but Jordan welcomed it. This time, he was equipped with unwavering determination and clarity of vision. He understood that one confrontation with his past wouldn't define him. He had shattered the mold. As the evening approached, the room filled with strangers who were no longer strangers. Each narrative imparted was woven with brilliance, resilience, and the acceptance of imperfection. By the time Jordan stepped onto the makeshift podium, the air swirled with anticipation. He locked eyes with Malcolm, who nodded, and he breathed deeply, relishing this moment. Life is not a linear path, Jordan began, his voice steady, resonating with the crowd. We all have moments that test us. There will always be distractions, uninvited shadows, whispers of our past that claim we aren't worthy of greatness. He could feel Malcolm's energy, pushing him forward, providing a synchronized rhythm that only strengthened his passion. But we defy this noise through our stories. The crowd stirred, and there was a palpable shift in energy as every person present leaned in, captivated. Each of us has the power to reframe the narrative, to claim an identity that reflects who we truly are. Jordan continued, for too long, I allowed fear to dictate my journey. But here, surrounded by all of you, this network of resilience, I stand alongside Malcolm. We are the authors of this next chapter, ready to embrace our potential without fear, because fear and vulnerability are not roads to shame, but pathways to fulfillment. As he concluded, the room erupted in applause, and Jordan felt a rush of validation wash over him, a feeling he had long yearned for. This applause became a tribute to their ambitions, validating their journeys in a manner that surpassed Marcus's shallow proclamations. In that moment, Jordan didn't just feel accomplished, he felt liberated, a man who had stepped into the light, finally shedding the weight of expectation that had held him back. Their vision lived and breathed beyond their initial aspirations. It had taken form, a tapestry woven from the ambitions of all who dared to yield, all who dared to climb back even when shadows threatened to consume them. The echoes of their shared struggles pulsed vibrantly in the hall, resonating beyond the tonight's accomplishments. Jordan's heart swelled with undeniable pride. With every story, with every experience shared, they were fostering a world where belonging triumphed over isolation, relationship over rivalry, and authenticity over expectation. This was the moment, a milestone in their journey, marking true transformation, unmistakable growth, and a story that would ripple far beyond their community. Jordan stepped off the podium, where Malcolm waited. His friend clapped him on the shoulder, acknowledgement and respect brimming in his eyes, a shared understanding that together they had achieved what they once thought impossible. They had forged a relationship, a project, and a vision built not just for themselves, but for every soul seeking their next step. And as they celebrated with newfound friends, Jordan resolved that no matter what shadows would come next, no matter the presence of Marcus or any other eldritch figure from his past, he possessed what mattered most: the support of stories, his own transformation, and an unshakable belief in their community. Now, more than ever, the future sparkled bright, alive with the exhilarating promise of all that they would build together. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending down below, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion.